Good morning, Babel. Well, good evening for you. I'm still posting my silly little live notifications. And drinking my coffee, which I made a little bit too strong this morning, unfortunately. But that's alright. Same thing. Time is an illusion. It's not real. Yeah, I think I made it a little bit too strong, and I think they roasted this batch a little bit too dark. I prefer medium roasts, or really I prefer light roasts, but medium is like the happy middle. And this roast lean's pretty dark. I think they roasted it a bit too dark for me this batch, so oh well. Not the end of the world. I am just a coffee snob. But it's fine. I'm balancing it out with a little bit of milk, which is not how I typically take my coffee, but it'll do. I guess I could swap over to the actual art. Let's see here. There he is. And I need to get my phone set up so I can check chat easier. Xeonesis, welcome in. Don't let your taste buds die. I will do my best. I don't know, Blue Bottle, they're usually really reliable in terms of the quality and the roast. But yeah, no, this one I'm a little bit disappointed. I might go back to Intelligentsia instead of Blue Bottle. Their beans were more consistent. Okay, let's see here. Does my phone have enough battery? Find out. Never heard of either brand, so they must be exclusively American. I don't know if they're international or not. Um, yeah, I'm actually kind of curious now. But they're decently well known. A lot of, for example, a lot of restaurants near here that aren't, serving kind of, for lack of a better term, that aren't serving crap quality coffee. A lot of restaurants here, a lot of like evening dinner restaurants, typically they will stock Blue Bottle. That's actually how I kind of found Blue Bottle. Is I went to, when I say restaurant, I'm talking about like white linens, sort of evening restaurants. That's more kind of what I'm talking about. And I forget what restaurant it was. It was some local dining, whatever it was. And I think we were there. I was either there for like a large birthday party or a wedding or something of that nature. And towards the end of the evening, everybody was kind of wrapping up. People were packing up food, champagne, and wine. And the owner comes over to my dad and says, typically they would serve decaf coffee with dessert. And so we all had coffee with dessert, and it was excellent. We had said as much. And the owner kind of comes up to my dad and says, "Hey, we've got, a bunch of coffee that was reserved for your party that they didn't finish. We probably got like 4 or 5 bags of coffee. So it's yours if you'd like to take it home." Same with, if you don't drink all of the champagne or all of the wine, you would take that home as well. So we took that home, and my dad gave me a few bags, and ever since I've been like, wow, this is really good. Until today, until this morning, because they roasted these a little bit too dark for me. So I'm not as fond of this particular batch, but Blue Bottle overall is very good. The one I'm drinking, let's see, I believe they call it Giant Steps. I'm pretty sure that's correct, and it's very marshmallow cocoa is kind of the profile on it, which is what I typically like in kind of fall and winter. I have coffees that I cycle through depending on what time of year, but I might switch to either a Victrola or an Intelligentsia because I'm picky and I kind of want my caramel notes this time of year. We'll see. And I'm still trying to pull up the chat on my phone so I can look at it without having to tap out a sigh. Come on now. Got distracted by coffee. Also, let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet or anything. I hope it's balanced, but it's hard to tell. It's only my second time streaming on YouTube, and I'm used to Twitch. Okay, here we go. Now I can see the chat. Alright. Hope they're not changing the formula process, huh? Who knows? Hopefully not. Oh, should I put this in the Discord? Probably should put this in the Discord. Let's see. There we go. Alright. Let's see here. I still don't know what this other arm is going to be doing. I didn't actually decide that before the stream, which I intended to, but that's alright. He says hey. And I think that's this there. Okay, there we go. I can hide that for now. Devil, good morning. How are you? Alright, let's see. So I need to continue lining this. I don't remember how I designed this. It's been so long since I've drawn him in this uniform that I forget. And I think I've got some colors there that aren't quite right. What's this face? Let's see. In Coffee Brand we have is, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. Dewey? Dowie? Oh, good old Nescafe. And Starbucks, yeah, of course. So here we have, well, obviously we have Starbucks, but we have what brands itself as a competitor to Starbucks, which is called Peet's. And they kind of market themselves as, if you go to Starbucks, you're going to get a drink that is very sugary. Very sugary, very sweet, very doctored with sauces and syrups and all that sort of thing. They're kind of more like coffee milkshakes than anything else. Well, if you get a cold one. But Pete's likes to brand itself as like a classic coffee shop with kind of the original drinks rather than like the Starbucks flavored mixed drinks. And the truth is that I think it's either Pete's owns Starbucks or Starbucks owns Pete's. I think it's that Starbucks owns Pete's. So it's a good old capitalistic hellscape, the illusion of free choice situation. Okay, there we go. There are my lines. Oh goodness. Okay, here we go. I worked really hard on these collarbones, but I need to hide them. Coffee feels watered down along with everything else. Yeah, I relate to that. I feel the same way. If I want a coffee, I don't go to Starbucks. If I want like a sugary iced drink like in summer, which is not typically something that I want, but if I want something of that nature, then sure, I'll go to Starbucks. But I don't go to Starbucks for coffee. That's just it's not, it's not real coffee. It sounds hoity-toity to say, I know, but why am I the way that I am? Because I don't know what that. Oh, I think I actually. Hold on. I think I do know what that is. Aha, there you are. Okay. If I want a cold drink, like something cold and sweet and sugary, first of all, I'm not a big fan of sweet things. I'm much more someone who likes savory things or salty things, rather than sweets. Sweets aren't really to my taste, so I can't really handle sweet drinks. In fact, I'll typically get a headache if I drink something that's a little bit too sweet. So if I do want something sweet, usually I'm just gonna go get boba. And usually even when I get boba, I get it with like either 0% or like 10% sweetness. Usually they let you adjust it. That's typically what I do for like my sweet summery drinks. Every now and then, depending, it would depend. If I was, working at the office and the only thing nearby was a Starbucks, would I get an iced tea or something in summer? Yeah, maybe, but it wouldn't be my first choice. Though I will say, if you're an American and you live here, I don't know if Pete's is a kind of a West Coast thing. I think it is a West Coast thing. I think if you go out east, you start seeing more Dunkin' for coffee. Actually, I'm sure Starbucks is across the entire country, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that Pete's is a more of a West Coast thing. But I will say Starbucks like food options are much better than Pete's. Pete's food options are really not great. Like if you want to get a coffee and like a little, I don't know, like a muffin with it for like a mid-morning snack, Pete's food is so bad. It's always dry and crumbly and sad and just awful. So you have to choose, do you want good or better coffee and horrible food, or do you want slightly better food but not good coffee? It's truly a first world problem to have, but here we are. I really don't want to do the Apollets. I really, really don't. They're such a pain to do, but I think I have to do them next. Let's see. I think I need to, at least I have to isolate them so that I can do them. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, I am talking about these little things that hang off. You can't really see this one because I erased it, but the little things that hang off of his shoulders, those are called epaulets. Epaulets? Epaulets? However you pronounce it. I'm not a military guy. purely for vibes. I was this years old when I went to a Starbucks. They had chicken. Excuse me? Starbucks has chicken nuggets, and they were actually good. That's that's insane. I've never heard of that. The closest I've seen to quote unquote chicken, if we can even call it chicken, at Starbucks is what's it called? They had this what what was it? It was some sandwich, like a breakfast sandwich that was like a chicken, like kind of like a chicken fried chicken sandwich. And I feel like I can't remember when this was. I feel like it was some sort of promotion or limited time thing that they did. That's the only time I've seen anything remotely chicken, because usually it's, your standard breakfast fare. Like I know they've got a couple of lunch sandwiches usually, but usually it's the breakfast stuff, like sausage, bacon, those kind of things. Real chicken, I was flabbergasted. That's insane. I'm flabbergasted it didn't even happen to me. I didn't even see it, and I'm still stunned. Shoulder tassels. Yeah, the formal name. I'm sure if you walked up to Cyril and asked him about his shoulder tassels, he wouldn't laugh at you. He would laugh at you. I'm gonna have to isolate those though, so let's go. I really should have a reference up of some kind. I'm doing this completely from memory, which is not smart, but I never said I was smart. Uh, I am a creature driven purely. Actually, no, I need to keep that. I'm a creature purely driven by instant gratification, and I don't want to go digging through all of my art files trying to find the original reference. That's his little captain band. Like he's a soccer team captain. Which I think is literally just called a captain band. I don't think there's actually a formal name for that. So that one's fine. You can just call that something silly. What was I thinking when I did this? Oh, right. We aren't going to actually see his shoulders beneath the epaulet, so I don't need to do a ton of detail on there. Because I still have to... God, I still need to do the buttons. Ah, oh, there's so much to his uniform. Why did I make it this complicated? Let's see. Compared to the priest cassock, the uniform is so much worse. probably really aren't going to see this scene, but there's, my hair is in that awkward in-between stage. Oh, gosh, it's driving me insane. I normally have a buzz cut. I normally have a hairstyle very similar to Cyril's, where like the sides are, here you can see his face, where normally the sides are buzzed short, but I'm growing it out, and oh my gosh, my hair is in that horrible in-between length where it just wants to curl forward into my face. I hate it so much. Oh my god. It's going right into my eye. Okay. Hopefully I can hold it back with my headset. Yeah, the hobo phase, that's literally what I look like. I've been wearing a hat for months. If I need to go out, I always wear a hat. It'll be fine once it grows out. It's kind of getting to the point where the hair that's long, kind of like on the top of my head, it's blending in with that. It's starting to, but yeah, God, it's awful. Growing out a buzz cut is just a terrible idea. Okay, so it's going to have the opponents over it. I don't want to do arm. I don't know what I was thinking. I also still don't know what his arms are going to be doing. More so the other one, but this one, I don't know if he's going to be holding his whip. I don't know if he's going to be holding a sword. Because if I don't have the sword in his hand, then, well, either way I need to draw the... Because, you know, he's got one of those... He's got one of those kind of standard... So, okay, this is like the uniform belt that's like meant to actually like hold the clothing in place. This one is the sword belt. So this one, eventually, I just haven't drawn it in yet, is going to have, you know, what would hold the sword in. That's the worst sword in the world, but you get the idea. Would hold the sword in place, and it's got one of those little extra straps that hold the scabbard. So eventually it'll have that, and he's got like a fancy sword, so it's gonna be all... But I don't know if he's gonna be holding his sword, or if it's gonna be tucked into his belt, so we'll have to see. And then whichever weapon he is holding, the other one's gonna be on his belt, so either his sword is gonna be on his belt, or his whip is gonna be on his belt, and his whip goes back here. It attaches to this belt instead, and it just kind of hangs off in like a little loop. So we'll see. I'll do that at some point. The old reliable whip would be good. Classic Cyril. It is classic Cyril. This is a return to form for him. I want to say the other hand leaning on a pole. Stripper vibes. Unfortunately accurate. I'm kidding. It's not. But he is a harlot, affectionately. But no, the original plan... I got really lazy, so... Here, let me... Because I can hide this. Because you can see that I clearly didn't. I didn't really plan to do more with his arm. So here's what the original plan was. I am very lazy, so I didn't want to do this. But originally, like, this hand is down here because it was going to be at a tighter angle, His hand was going to kind of be up here, and then this one was going to be kind of like, I know that's really rough, so I'm sorry if this makes no sense to you. But like that's his forearm, like this is his elbow here, and this is his hand, and he was going to be drawing his sword. That was the original idea for this, but then I got lazy and I didn't want to do that, so I just hacked his arm off and made the other one kind of fall at a different angle to kind of get it away from his body, so I didn't have to draw them overlapping. But now I don't know what I want to do with it, so well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. And the thought after that was, okay, if I'm not going to do the sword, like the drawing the sword thing, then I'll have his arm out, and maybe he's like holding on to like ship rigging or something, like because he's got this leg up kind of forward. Maybe he's doing, the maybe he's doing the little Captain Morgan thing, like that's a barrel. But he's, you know, maybe it's Captain Morgan vibes. I don't know. That's as far as my brain got with this. I mostly just wanted to draw him in the uniform again, and I kind of didn't really care about how I got there. But now, now I need to make decisions. Um, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm still not sure what I'll do. I mostly care about drawing the uniform just because I complain a lot, but I actually enjoy drawing his uniform. I find it very fun. Um, so for now, I don't know what his arm is going to be doing. Uh, it kind of looks like a drumstick. So thoughts and prayers for Cyril's speedy arm regeneration. Um, because I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. We'll see. I also haven't decided if he's going to have his white coat on top of his on top of the black. There's so many things I need to decide. The Amogus arm is my favorite, truly. Imposter. Was he the imposter? Was he the victim of the imposter? We'll never know. He's well built enough. There was a lot of protein on that arm. I hope it served them well. Oh yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. For now, I'm just kind of doing the parts that I know are going to be more or less set in stone. Because, for example, if I go back to doing I cannot look at the drumstick arm. I can't do it. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So if I do the sword... See, this is the other thing, is Here, let me change this. Does Cyril, as a pirate, and in this AU version of the canon, whatever you want to call it, does he use a sword? Yes. Of course he does. But also his whip is his primary weapon, and it's like his thing. So I always like to give him his whip if I can. So the other option would be to, like, instead of having him draw a sword, would be to have him, you could do it with a belt too, you just gotta pull it and you could hold it. Oh my god, I can't talk. I'm tripping over my words so much. I'm trying not to laugh at the same time. You can pull taut like a belt or a whip and it'll make a little snapping noise. Like that's, holding, both ends of the whip. Right? It does. Am I making sense? Hopefully I'm making sense. So that was the other idea, is that he could be holding his whip with that very smug face. Listen, I said that this roast was a little bit dark, but wow, they must have way more caffeine. I think it's a combination of not sleeping well and just absolutely injecting caffeine directly into my veins. Anyways, all that to say, I don't know yet. I lean most towards whip. As fun as it is to draw Cyril with like a really fancy sword, because he would have a very fancy sword. I was talking to Babel and a couple of other people recently about his earrings, which you might have heard this already, but like the gold earrings. You can't see his other ear in this, but he's got the same piercings in both ears. Cyril's very wealthy, and he likes he likes to brag about that because he's a dick. Um, so I like drawing him with like a fancy sword because Cyril doesn't. Swords aren't his, primary weapon. He can use a sword. Um, he kind of he cheats if he uses a sword, guys. He cheats, by the way. He's not very good with a sword. He'll cheat. Is what he'll do. Um, but he's better with the whip. He doesn't really need to cheat if he's using a whip, so his whip is his first choice. But obviously the whip is like a mid to long range weapon versus a shorthand weapon. I don't know. I just it's so fun to have a fancy sword, but whip is just it's what he prefers. Yeah, Cyril. He's got pirate has more piercings. I say more. He's got one extra piercing compared to the priest, because the priest only has the first. Whoops. The priest only has the first two, but the pirate has the third one. Both versions of Cyril, both the pirate and the priest, have both of their ears pierced the same way. But the pirate just has more. Yeah, less flex. I'm just bragging with his earrings. Yeah, exactly. Just bragging. Babel, I'm gonna ban you from my chat for saying that. How dare you? His rings stay the same, so I guess that's also kind of flexing wealth because they're also gold, but because he's. Are you prepared to see the worst hand? Here we have Cyril's hand. It's a medical condition. Leave him alone. He's got three rings that he wears on each hand. He's got one on the thumb. That's the thumb, by the way. First of all, he always wears gloves. Cyril doesn't like having his hands naked. He always wears gloves. He's got one on his thumb. He's got one on his index finger, and he's got one on his little finger. And he wears those over the gloves. And he's always got those, no matter. Well, I say that. He's almost always got them. Except for the secret project that I'm working on, but that's different. So says me, oh look, what's that? Stabs them when they're not looking. Quick, what's that? Because Cyril will let forbidden Cyril lore, maybe really old Cyril lore. Cyril will let people duel him, when I say this, I'm talking about the pirate. So if Cyril captures somebody, they have the option, and they're told explicitly they have the option to duel him, and if they win, he'll let them go. And he's true to his word. All you have to do is win. And he cheats, so nobody wins. He cheats in a lot of ways, but some of his methods include he'll pick out a sword, and he'll offer, whoever says that they want to duel him for their freedom, he'll offer them like a selection of swords, but all those swords are deliberately smithed to be extremely heavy, and Cyril lets them take their pick, but no matter which one they pick up, it's going to be really heavy and too awkward to hold, even if they're like a skilled swordsman, which usually someone who's willing to duel typically is. It's going to be off balance and it's going to be too heavy to really use effectively, which is by design because again, Cyril cheats. And on top of that, he usually coats all of those swords, including his. He coats all of his swords. There, I don't have it in front of me. Again, for Forbidden Cyril lore, I'm pulling this from memory, so I don't have all of the actual resources in front of me. But Cyril has all of his swords, pretty much all of his weapons, except for the whip. You don't need it with the whip. All of his blades, so like daggers, swords, etc. He has all of them coated with a certain compound that's clear. It goes on clear. And he has another compound that's usually hidden in his sleeve or sometimes in his coat pocket or whatever. It's like a little cotton swab basically that's filled. And if he can make contact with someone with that compound, the one that's hidden, and then if he makes contact with the sword, those two things together will turn bright red, so he can trick people into thinking that they've been wounded because they see blood. It's not actually blood, it's just a little chemical reaction that causes a red liquid to appear. So he does all sorts of schemy stuff like that. Thank you. One, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and two, thank you for appreciating Cyril's Pillsbury Doughboy hand that I drew as an example of how he wears his rings. Cyril does lots of tricks like that. He's, as we say in the business, a tricksy hobbits. Okay, we can hide the doughboy hand in there. Those are important. Delicious lore. We love a terrible, disgusting human being. Okay, let's see. I think I am going to work on. I really should look up references for this, but I'm not going to. I am just going to wing it. I'll see if I can get done the buttons and the epaulets at least. I think that's reasonable for stream. Let's go ahead and do that. Yes, these should fold over, shouldn't they? I only just started doing them and already they're annoying me. Also, that is a real chemical reaction, by the way. I forget what the actual compounds are called, but there are two compounds that basically go on clear, and they're dry, or they at least appear dry. Like there's no glistening or sheen to them. But once they touch, they turn red and release like a liquid. I forget which compounds elements do that. I looked it up at one point because I was doing a bunch of research for it, but it's a real thing because I like to have shenanigans based at least somewhat, in fact. I like having like historical and real world inspiration for things. I think it's fun. Sure, keep that design. But it's something to start with. think that's about right. The tassels might be a little too... because usually they don't extend past the collar. Let's see. You really don't end up seeing very much of that one, do you? No, it's that arm's gonna bother me. It's fine. I'm choosing not to look at it. Okay, and how about a soccer team captain? Oops. Oh well. Well, I fell in love with him. Hello, Nix. Welcome in. He's a terrible man, but we love him anyway. Let's see. Just trying to think of the video. I think it was a Vine. You guys, am I aging myself? Do any of you remember Vine? It just makes me think of the. Again, I think it was a Vine. Excuse me, it might not have been. But there was a video of this lady kind of dressed in historical dress. So I'm not sure if she was like a reenactor or something like that. But she had this little raven on a perch with her. And she just went over to the raven and, like, with a very kind of thick accent, said, "You are naughty, but I love you. Yes." It was super cute. And I just think of that every time I look at Cyril. You are naughty, but I love you. I have too many layers. I really need to cool down my layers. But I don't want to. It's a problem for future me. I miss mine. If you sent me to a psychologist, psychiatrist. Details. Details, details. I can't find. I have too many layers. Oh, I don't know where that little smudge is. Okay, so it is somewhere in here. Aha. There we go. Nope, I don't want to do that. If you see my shame of toggling each layer off and on until I find the one I'm looking for, no, you don't. Music's on. I think my music's on. Okay, there we go. I toggle the layers on and off more than I actually draw. Yeah, that's a mood. Every time I tell myself I'm gonna be good about not having too many layers, or at least labeling the layers if I end up having a lot of them, and then I just never do. Either I don't give the layers any names whatsoever, or I swing over to the opposite end of the spectrum where I give them extremely unhelpful names. Like the one from that old stream. I think it was the last stream that I ever did on Twitch, where I think I named one of my layers because we did a game of Hangman where I let people guess what the what I had named the layer, and I think the full name was like Dummy Thick Thighs and Drumstick Meal or something like that. Which was not helpful when it came to organizing the layers at all. I think I still have the screenshot of the game of Hangman that we played. This is absolutely killing me. I can't find the layer. That's okay. I'm gonna get over it. Oh my goodness. I don't know what that's from. I understand little of what you're talking about. I don't speak English very well, but it doesn't matter. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I'm glad that you can enjoy Cyril, even if there's a language barrier. He's a horrible person, but we love him anyway. I keep looking for that smudge, and I don't know where it is. Ah, there it is. I found it, finally. Ah, okay, there we go. Yeah, something chicken dumb drumstick. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think it was like a pun on the KFC, which you're only gonna get that reference if you're American, probably. I don't know. Is KFC an international brand? I know they're in Japan. I know they're in Japan at least. But KFC, the like drumstick and thigh meal, it was like a pun based off of that, or just a silly joke based off of that. Which is interesting because I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've ever eaten KFC in my life. Okay, I need to add the buttons. The buttons are just one of the hardest pieces to draw. And I think I'm like 90% sure there's 3 rows of buttons. I really should just get references. He's my character, and I should go get my own references. But here I am, not doing that. I lied. I'm gonna do that anyway. Hold on. Reference before I can work on this. You have KFC? Oh, interesting. Yeah, I knew that they were in some other countries, but I don't know how widespread they are. I cannot say that I am a KFC connoisseur. It's not somewhere that I frequent. Again, I think I can count like on one hand the amount of times that I've had it in my life. I know I put just okay, let's see here. I'm gonna have to just get really small images. Bobo loves KFC. Why does that not surprise me? Not a real fan of it. The one in, yeah, you get that here too. Sometimes certain franchises are just run a lot better than others, or better or worse than others. Okay, here we go. It's a really small image. Wow, that's really small. I don't even know if that's gonna help me. But it's easier than digging up the actual reference, so I'm probably just gonna use this. Fried chicken is big in the UK. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. It's not one of the things that I think of when I think of like food that's popular in the UK. Here we go. References. Oh, I made this hash entirely gold. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that or not. The gold is pretty. You can also see that he's got more seam lines that are, like, I kind of have them started here, but there are more seam lines of the coat, like where each piece of fabric meets, that are outlined in gold. And I'm missing, you can tell that I didn't finish this. because I'm missing these lines here. These ones should extend. They should keep going down. So you can tell that I just never finished this. But I do like this one. Yeah, I like this rendition. I'm not sure. Maybe his sash will change to gold for this one. But I was right that it was three series of buttons. So that was correct. So that's good. My memory of my own design is somewhat reliable. This is good news. But I will want to change that, I think. I think I do like the pop of gold. Cyril has different sashes that you can wear with this anyways. I like the animations of the song Hellfire. YouTube recommended your video. Loved everything, and here I am. Well, welcome. I'm so glad you could make it, and I'm glad that YouTube recommended it to you. I really hope to do more animations. It just depends on how much time I have, which right now is not very much. Oh no, where did I put my buttons there? Okay, here we go. In case you wanted to know like how self-absorbed Cyril is, you can see it on the palettes a little bit up here. Oops. This has like his this is a really bad rendition of it, but he's got like his little signature sigil thingy. Just his last initial. His last name is Stacy, so it starts with an S. But not only is it on the palettes, it's also on every single one of these little buttons. There's a little S. That's how self-absorbed he is. He's got his name even on his buttons. I don't think I'll go to the trouble of drawing that, but just know that it's there as a treat. I don't know how this man stuffs his whole ego into this extremely tight-fitting uniform, but he does. It's not Cyril unless his clothes are shrink-wrapped to his body, as we've previously established. I might actually do the lines over again. I don't know. We'll see. I might make some changes, but that's okay. Is it very complicated to make animatics? Yes, it's mostly very, very time consuming. It takes a very long time to make an animatic. There are a lot of stages, and animation takes a very long time. I also have to be careful because I don't own the music that I use. So I have to make sure that I get permission or I'm not going to get in trouble for using music. But once I have an idea for an animatic, usually it's not too difficult, but it does take a very long time. And sometimes the idea will change partway through, so you have to start over, which takes a very long time. Put it back. I find that putting something in the description that says you're using the music under fair use can sometimes help with not getting copyright strikes. It definitely does help. In my original Hellfire animatic, I have, in the description, I have a disclaimer that basically says that this is Jonathan Young's music, and because it's Jonathan Young, but he's also covering a Disney song, I have to say it's Jonathan Young and Disney's, and so I have to put that in there. But the main thing is wow, that's a real sentence in the English language, is the problem for me is that I have an actual quote-unquote product now. So it's not just me creating an animatic for fun because I enjoy doing it. Even though that is the reason that I do them, technically the animatic would be considered a commercial for the book. So I have to be really careful with how I do animatics, and that's part of why I haven't released anything. Because if that animatic is being used as a commercial, then I'm definitely going to get a copyright strike. So for the Hellfire, sorry, not Hellfire, for the Immolation trailer, I used music that I could purchase a commercial license for. So I purchased a license and I had to submit that license to YouTube to release that video because it is literally a commercial. It says it, it's a trailer. Versus an animatic, like I would really love, I actually have several. I probably have like 5 or 6 animatics. Just between you and me, I have about 5 or 6 animatics that are sitting in a folder waiting to be worked on. But I have to be really careful, and I don't want to, lose my entire account or anything like that, because it's not just me creating it for fun, even though it is. It's technically a commercial for a product that I can sell. So I have to be careful there. I'm not sure if, for example, I just don't put any information about the book in the description for the Hellfire animatic. So there's no link to the book, there's no link in the description, there's no link in a comment, there's nothing that can connect, technically, quote unquote. In a legal sense, there is nothing that can connect that video to the book Immolation. You'd have to leave that video and go somewhere else on my account to find information about the book. That is kind of one of the ways that I've tried to protect myself. And also to be respectful of the source material. Obviously, Jonathan Young didn't agree to have his music be a commercial for my book, so from one creator to another, even though I'm a very small creator, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that anyway. But it does mean that, for example, if I find, a song that I really, really want to use, I have to be really careful because an animatic could be considered a commercial, and I don't have the money for that. If a drawing takes me more than 4 days, I don't continue it. I can't imagine making an animation. Yeah, I understand that. My biggest weakness for all of my art is that if I cannot finish it in a single session, like a single drawing session, it's probably going to be abandoned, which is frustrating sometimes and difficult. I'm getting better at it over time, mostly because I'm forced to. If I want to finish anything while also working a full-time 40-hour week job, I have to be willing to come back to things. But I said it earlier in the stream, I am a nothing if not a creature of instant gratification. I don't like it's very difficult for me to trust the process when it comes to creative adventures. I was able to do it for Hellfire, so I kind of proved to myself that I could do it, which made me happy. But there was a lot of self-doubt and a lot of frustration along the way. Hellfire looks amazing. It's still one of my favorite animations. Oh, thank you so much. I'm really happy you like it. It's still probably one of my favorites. I think obviously I'm proud of the book because that's different, but in terms of like a visual piece of art that I've created, I think it's by far my favorite too. I'm very happy with it. I really want to do more. Again, I just have to be really careful with copyright and so on because it is technically something that is designed for a product because we live in a capitalist hellscape. now I need to find my other bits. I'm probably not going to keep that because it's not the right shape. Okay, we'll see. I can tell that I did this between these. You can tell the one that I did with references versus the one that I did from memory. It's really obvious when you've got them side to side this way, but that's okay. I'll fix it. Okay, I just need to find all of my layers again. Okay, there's one. Perfect. How many days did it take you to make Hellfire? It's... Goodness. I didn't count the days that I was actively working on it because sometimes I wouldn't work on the actual drawing, but I might be working on some sort of asset that I need. I had to do a lot of... I think this is... I had to do a lot of research for how to make an animatic. So I took breaks and did research in between. It took several months of work, though. I know that it took at least 6 weeks of actual drawing and actual animating. But the amount of time that it took was closer to, I think 3 or 4, probably 4 months in total. I'd have to look. I think in the description I put at least the months that I started. Oh, I put that one there. That's not good. I think in the description I put the amount of months that it took from a time perspective. I didn't draw every single day, but I was working on it in some fashion. Men with uniform are handsome. Yes, I love the uniform look. It's very handsome. He does not deserve to look handsome, but he does. Okay, I need to fix this button. Maybe I really do need coffee. I was looking at the chat trying to figure out what you were. Living in typo hell. It's where we all go to suffer. What is his name? His name is Cyril. Cyril Stacy. Let's see. I'll write it out. Wow, my L sneezed there. Okay, there we go. I hate writing with a tablet. I hate this pen too. I write better on paper, I promise. There we go. Cyril Stacy. Yep, you got it. Cyril supremacy. Oh, I should probably. Throw pain in the Stacy. He is nothing if not consistent in his branding. Oh, I think this needs to be. Oh, there we go. But we love him. We love him anyway. He is naughty, but we love him. I always try to use this new brush because I'm trying to get the feel for it. And just every time I don't end up liking it. This is the new brush that I keep trying to use, and this is my normal brush. You can see that I'm used to something that's much softer. I'm trying to use this one, but I don't end up liking it. I always end up going back to my normal brush. There are times that I want like a kind of clean line like that other brush, usually for shading, but I don't know. I think I like the brush that I use because it feels like a physical pencil, at least to me. I'm sure that differs by whoever you would ask, but I started drawing traditionally when I was really young, mostly with pencils. So when I came over to digital, I really wanted something that felt like a physical pencil, or at least kind of behaved like one, and where I could press on it to get, a cleaner, kind of crisper line. And if not, then I would kind of be able to slowly build up with different brush strokes. Do you use Clip Studio? I own Clip Studio, and I could use it, but I do most of my drawing. I'm doing this drawing on Sai, Paint Tool Sai. But I do use Clip Studio for some things. I respect it. I'm awful at using Sai. Sai, I'm very biased because I learned how to draw digitally with Paint Tool Sai. So I'm very used to the way that the brushes feel in Sai. I really, really prefer it. It's a lot more comfortable for me. If I had a different tablet setup, maybe I would feel differently. But I have a very cheap, a very cheap hand-me-down tablet. It's a really old Wacom Bamboo. It's discontinued now. It was discontinued some time ago. And maybe if I had a different setup, if I had like a graphical,
that a word? I think it's a word. A visual tablet, where it has the screen. I think I think that's called a graphical tablet. I'm not sure. I think I'm thinking of a graphical user interface. Anyways, if I had that, maybe it would be different. But when I open Clip Studio Paint and I try to use the brushes, I struggle a lot with the way the brushes feel, and I've tried and tried and tried to fiddle with the settings in Clip Studio. I have tried to adjust them. I've tried to make macros and shortcuts and custom brushes. I've tried everything, and nothing feels as good for me as Psy does. There's a lot more utility in Clip Studio, and I do wish that a part of me wishes that I had learned to draw in that so that it would feel better to me. But unfortunately, I didn't. So I'm gonna hang out and Psy. Side brushes feel a bit more hand drawn. Yes, to me at least they definitely do. I learned on clips, so I think that's my trouble. I found brushes that work with me. It's okay. My most recent tablet was $25. Took me forever to find free brushes. My case, I used to use Psy. Oh, okay, so you used to use Psy. I think one day I would like to practice more with Clip Studio because it has so much. I would also like to kind of look at Psy 2. I just because I don't get to draw very much recently, because I work full time, and now I write a lot. Because I don't have as much time to devote to drawing, I try to just stick with what's comfortable. But I don't know, I would also kind of like to do some sort of art course where I can practice with different brushes and things like that. Because I feel like my art is kind of stagnating, and that's really frustrating. And I think one of the best things to do would be to try and get familiar with some other programs and brushes and things of that nature. Because I do pretty much everything manually. Like if I have a pattern or a texture, I go in and I do it manually. And I know there are some really great utilities and brushes that would make my life so much easier. And especially if I'm trying to do an animatic, every single bit of saved time and saved energy is super important when you're doing an animatic. So, yeah, I really wish that I had the time to dedicate to that. I don't feel like I do right now because of how busy life is, but we'll see. Maybe in 2025, maybe not. It just depends. I have a lot of big projects for 2025 planned already, so trying not to overwork myself. I used to use Sci, but digital drawing still confuses me. Oh, really? I feel like I feel like it's taken me a long time to get from where I used to be with traditional art. It's taken me a really long time to get back to that level, but digitally. There was a really big learning curve. Even just, it depends on what tablet you're using, of course, but for example, not being able to look down at my hand while I was drawing and having to look up at a screen instead, that was a huge learning curve for me. That was really uncomfortable at first. Sai is a good program. I use Clip Studio for 3D models. Oh yeah, I have a different program for 3D models. I use Design Doll. I wonder if I can show Design Doll on screen. Hold on. I I might be able to capture it. Let me see. And I'm pretty sure I list it in the descriptions for both animatics because I used it for both. Let's see. That's what I'm looking for. Isn't finding it. I'm so used to physical art, it's hard to go digital. The layers, they murder me. Layers are so nice. I wish I had layers when I was working traditionally. It is definitely a very different way of working though, and it's a huge learning curve. I can't get this to pull up. Hold on, let's see. I'm determined. I'm not giving up. There we go. Okay, so that should be showing up. Yeah, so I use DesignDoll. I know that CSP has like a 3D modeling software kind of built into it, but I use DesignDoll. I can pose little models. I use this a lot for animatics, of course, but just in general, especially because, again, I don't know if you can kind of see the whole window. I think you can only see part of it right now. But there's an option where you can add multiple models, you can adjust their heights, you can adjust their body shapes. So it's really handy, for example, when I need to make sure that I am drawing characters that are consistent in terms of like how tall they are. Because in my head, I kind of know like where people fall. Like I know that Bronte kind of comes up to like right about Cyril's chest. That's kind of like where her head comes up to. But if, Cyril is sitting down and Bronte is standing up next to him, then I have to try and figure out where she would be. Would she be able to like easily like lean over and talk to him or whatever. So I find DesignDoll handy for that. They're very shiny. I think you can change. Look, there's all these shiny options. But yeah, lots of options. Very, very, very shiny. I don't even know if they've got any that aren't shiny. I think they kind of do that on purpose. You can also adjust the light source, which is really handy as well. You can add more models. You can also add blocks to like act as kind of different pieces in the environment for your characters to interact with. So DesignDoll is free. I use it free. So if you don't have CSP, or if you just want an extra tool that's handy, then this might be a good option for you. The only downside is if you're using the free version, you cannot save your poses. So just keep that in mind. I don't usually save my poses. I screenshot them and I save a screenshot of the pose if I want to reference it. But that's like the limitation of the free version is you can't save your poses and reopen them later. But again, I still find it super, super handy. And if I wanted to pay for it to save my poses, I totally would because I'm really happy with it. So that's what I use. sensitivity of my tablet is so bad, I don't know. Oh no. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a settings thing. Yeah. Other than that, then got a monitor tablet. Then literally hated that I lost the level of pressure sensitivity and gave the tablet away. Oh no. I think one of the possible options that I've been considering is getting an iPad, and I think it's an Apple Pencil is what they call it, and trying Procreate, I think is what the popular software is called. I like the idea of being able to like take the iPad places and draw from somewhere that isn't my desk. I wouldn't really be able to use that for animatics, I don't think, because obviously I need to be doing video editing for animatics. But I don't know. I think the idea is interesting. I I don't know. I'm torn. It's really hard for me to justify buying an entire iPad just for drawing. I don't know. I think about it now and then. It's cuff here. That one's good. My girlfriend does that. Yeah, I have a couple of different artists that I follow who do use iPads and Procreate, Procreate, and they're very happy with it. So that is something that I've been considering. And my weekly routine, just kind of normally in life, is on Saturdays I usually will go out to a coffee shop. I'll spend a little while either writing or, well, pretty much just writing. Sometimes I draw if I bring a sketchbook, but I don't really like drawing in a sketchbook. I don't know. Sketchbooks and I have complicated relationships. um, Mostly it's time spent writing, and then I'll go usually to like a thrift store or sometimes to a vintage bookstore, and I'll always try to find some vintage books. That's like my typical weekend routine that I do. And the idea kind of occurred to me of like it would actually be really nice to be able to have an iPad so that I could do digital drawing rather than traditional, because now at this point I'm out of practice with traditional art. It's really frustrating. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Actually do some level of animatic and GIFs on the iPad because there's audio insertion. Oh, really? That's really interesting. The sensitivity feels strange. The stroke is slow and in clip it works well. Oh, interesting. Yeah, inside. Oh gosh, I don't know if you'll be able to see it because I have the screen kind of zoomed in. But as an example, so my stabilization in psi is set to, whoops, it's set to 13, and there's really no delay. But if I change this to like S7, which is really high, you can see that there's a huge amount of delay, and it really doesn't respond very well. So that could be a sensitivity issue. And hopefully, again, assuming that you want to use psi, if you really enjoy using CSP, then that's what you should continue using. But if you do want to use psi, that might be part of it. It's a nice choice to have if you're not with your setup or might have an idea for a drawing or pose. Yeah, that's kind of what I was imagining, because I don't like, sometimes I like sketchbooks, but I don't like, if I end up really liking a pencil sketch that I did in my sketchbook, right? Then I have to scan it, I have to try and remove the paper. I just, it's a whole kerfuffle. So I end up usually getting really frustrated. And again, I am now so rusty with traditional art that I find it really frustrating when you have artifacts like eraser marks from erasing a pencil. That like it annoys me so much. So I don't know. I think it's not a high priority for me to get an iPad and to try Procreate. I think obviously I own a copy of CSP. I was gifted a copy of CSP, so I would probably rather try investing in that and trying to learn it and kind of trying to be comfortable with it before I kind of went to the trouble of getting an iPad and Procreate. But a huge part of me does wonder, because it did take me so long to get comfortable with digital art, and I still consider myself a beginner with digital art, but it took me so long to even just kind of get comfortable with it. Part of me really does wonder if versus, trying to get comfortable with CSP, would doing art on an iPad where you hold your pencil and you look down at what you're drawing because it's on the screen, would that kind of feel familiar and be easier, an easier learning curve? I think that it might, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to be very busy writing the upcoming year, so I don't know how much time that I'll really have for art, but it's kind of a nice thought to have on the back burner. A one-trick pony, and despite having a bunch of brushes for CSP, I found a pencil brush I love to death and do all my sketches. Man, I would die for just a nice pencil brush. I have this brush in CSP, and look at these little tails that it leaves. I hate it. I hate this brush so much. It's not good. I don't like this brush at all. I'm a bad artist, and I exclusively use the default airbrush because it's what feels comfortable to me. I know I shouldn't. I know that I really should try to diversify the brushes that I use, and I really wish that I did have some sort of brush that gave me some texture, but unfortunately, this is the one that's comfortable, so this is what I use, because I am a creature who thrives off of instant gratification, as we have previously discussed. More tails than a lizard. That puts a paper texture screen. Yeah, definitely. I use my kneaded eraser a lot because I hate eraser shavings. Oh man, I remember the days of the kneaded eraser. I really should get one so that I have it with me for like my weekend routine. Because I just take my pencil bag. That's not a word. Pencil case. My book bag. I take my book bag. That's the word I was looking for. I take my book bag with me, and I might as well just get a kneaded eraser so that I can stash it in that bag so I'll always have it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't think about it until I'm actively pulling out my sketchbook when I'm already sat in a coffee shop. I think the brush in CSP is called Perfect Pencil or something. Drawing I did of Eddie. I saw there was like such a nice little bit of texturing to that sketch, and I was just like, ugh, it looks good. One of these days I will try. I keep saying that. I've been saying that for years now, but gosh, yeah, it's just what I would do for. And I don't know if this is me because I haven't set up my brushes correctly, or if this is just a limitation of Psy, which would not surprise me if it was the case. But let me see if I can make an example here. Okay, here we go. So this is a random brush that I have on Psy. And this is something that frustrates me a little bit, but also I don't know, again, have like some free random brushes that I have installed on side that I don't use. So this might be user error. I might be the problem. I'm not sure. I might be the problem, but one of the things that I notice with Psy, like if I have a textured brush, it's not actually layering itself over the previous strokes. It's just adding more of the same texture in the same pattern. So I don't get any layering effect when I use the brush. It's more like I am revealing a default texture depending on where I draw. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm not explaining it very well, but that's how it feels to me. And I don't really like textured brushes because of that. In Psy, I like them in theory. I don't like how they work in Psy. And again, this might be user error, but it's like it reveals a preset texture rather than layering a different texture over with each stroke of the brush. That's at least how I interpret it. Thank you, the brush, for the time that take. I'll definitely give it a try. I mean, I do have CSP, and I really should try with it. I've tried. I've asked several artist friends, kind of their thoughts with CSP. Excuse me, because, and again, I think this is user error. To some extent, it has to be user error because I've asked friends, what are your settings for CSP and your brushes? Because every single time I open up CSP to try to draw in it, it feels, it literally feels like I am drawing with a mouse. That's what it feels like. It feels like there's no sensitivity really at all, no control, which again is probably just me. It's probably just me being the problem, but that's that's how it feels. Maybe a different brush and different settings would help that, but again, I've tweaked the settings so much in CSP. I think it's really just kind of how the engine drives the brushes. That's just a kind of a built-in difference between Psy and CSP. I don't know if I want to do this cuff because I might move his arm. So I think I'm going to leave that be for now. My mind right now. I really think that is the case because it felt different drawing on Psy after starting on CSP. Yeah, I don't know what it is. And I've heard, to be fair, I have heard, I don't think it's quite the right wording, but I've heard the argument, for lack of a better phrase, I have heard the argument before that Psy has better, quote unquote, better stabilization than CSP. And again, I think it's just a matter of how the brush engine drives these things. And it's probably because there's way more brushes and way more utility built into CSP. But yeah, I genuinely struggle. It literally feels like drawing with a mouse every single time I try, no matter what settings I play with, to the point that it physically hurts my hand, which I'm not about that. I draw as a hobby. I'm not here to suffer. I'm here to have fun. I don't have any changes to the standard settings. I just don't actually use the standard brushes, except for the dense watercolor. Interesting. One of these days, I'm gonna respectfully grab you by the scruff and have you stream some of your art for me. I wish to learn. Please let me just be a fly on the wall. Okay, let me see. both belts and the sash because I made my life harder for no reason. Oh, that's okay. I love his face very much. You gotta see the process is 90% nonsense. I play stream as long as my old man. That's right. Your poor desktop is fighting for its life. That's okay. Hopefully one of these days, though. Is this all one layer? It is one layer. Oh, terrible. Did my music stop again? Hold on. No, it didn't. Okay. It's doing its best. Next year I'll reflect. Yeah, my computer's kind of on its last legs as well. Probably because I keep shoving games down its throat. Most of these games I don't even have time to play as well. I keep installing them and then not playing them. I keep telling myself one day I'll have time. Thank YouTube for recommending the stream when I was going to take a nap. If you're tired, please do rest. I'm very glad that YouTube recommended it to you. I'm very glad that you're here. But please do take care of yourself if you do need to sleep. As someone who did not sleep well last night, I understand. Buying games and not installing them. I try, listen, I try, but I am also very guilty of just going back and replaying the games that I know I like. I'm on my second, yeah, my second playthrough, excuse me, of the Elden Ring DLC, because I know that I'm going to enjoy it. I actually just installed a couple of, I think I think I got 3 games. Um, I think it was 3. I just installed, I think, a total of 3 different games from the Steam autumn sale, or fall sale, or whatever they call it. And I will do my best to actually play those games. But again, I am a simple creature of instant gratification. And the games were only like $2. There were some fun ones in there, though. Got, I think it's Kingdom Come Deliverance, I think is the full name. I got Darkest Dungeon, which is fun. Still probably just gonna replay Elden Ring. Yeah, I got Kingdom Come Deliverance for was like $4. Darkest Dungeon I think was $1. Trying to remember what else I got. Do I want that to be straight or do I want that to have a curve? I think I want that to have a curve. Change my mind, I don't want it to be folded. I love Darkest Dungeon. Scream does custom content for it. It's so fun. It looks really fun. I've watched a few streams of it, and it looked really fun. So I'm excited to play it. You know, when I when I have time. Between obviously I have to work on volume 2 of the book. Shit. Ugh. But obviously I have to work on volume 2 of the book, which is not going to be public for a very long time. I have a secret writing project that is probably going to be public sometime 2025. I'm still not entirely sure what the timeline on that is, but sometime 2025 is the goal. I have more Patreon stuff I need to work on. All of that while working a full-time job. So I don't know. We'll see if I have time for games. It's called Black Reliquary. Love it. I'm real busy. Yeah. I need to stay busy, otherwise I will go insane. Unfortunately. I'm really not good at taking breaks from things. But also because we live in a capitalist hellscape, and if I do not continue to create content, I will fall by the wayside. Particularly in the self-publishing world, where things you are needed to move very, very fast, which I automatically don't do. I am someone who works very slow. I work very slow at the best of times. Like even when I'm not exhausted from work, or even when I don't have multiple projects going on, I work very slow, and I'm okay with that. But it does mean that it's difficult to stay on top of things like social media and so on. I just want to draw my silly little pictures and write my silly little stories. But I have to get engagement. We'll see. Not entirely sure about that. Oh, it's wrong color. Hold on. Ever since we mentioned chicken nuggets, I really want chicken nuggets. I don't have enough money for chicken nuggets. It's another vine, in case I'm aging myself again. I'm pretty sure that was a vine, at least. The how much money do you have? 69 cents. Though I do have a piece of cheesecake that I've been saving. I'm very, very looking forward to. Did do that up there. Interesting. Okay. I might go the silly little guy route. I might not line these. Because, yeah, the epaulets really should sit on that kind of outside corner of his shoulder. Because I mean, they're meant to show rank, but also they're meant to make him look bigger. So they kind of broaden his shoulders out. I love watching the art come together and also having the awareness to type clearly. Welcome back with coffee. I'm getting kind of hungry, so I'm not sure how long I'll keep going because I do want to make some lunch at some point. I also have another piece that I want to work on. I'll probably stream the other piece in question. I'm not sure. The other piece that I have that I kind of want to work on is Bronte and Cyril. So I think people here on YouTube would like it because it's characters that they will at least recognize from the Hellfire animatic versus this version of Cyril, who the OGs who've been following me since like my previous social media handles and my previous communities will recognize Cyril. Well, this version of Cyril. But people here on YouTube probably only know Cyril as a priest, so they might get a kick out of the one I have in mind with Bronte and Cyril. I don't know if it would be a little bit too spicy for YouTube's filters, but I think it'd be fine. I think it's tame enough. Lunch is important, gotta have it, it's true. I also like to occasionally ingest sustenance, so I continue leaving. Leaving? Living. I would also like to leave, but living for now. An awesome idea, I love watching stream. Awesome. I would like to do more with my YouTube. I feel like my poor YouTube just kind of sits here and collects dust between between animatics and announcements, and I really want to do more with it because I enjoy it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll stream that piece of Bronte and Cyril together. That could be fun. Bronte's best girl, it's true. I even have it in my notes next to her name. Best girl. Pirate Cyril will be for the folks over on Blue Sky, as I did a very, very informal poll about what people wanted to see. And again, people who have followed me from previous social medias and previous communities mostly mostly are fond of the pirate, which I understand. I am also extremely fond of it. But here on YouTube, I think people would like to see more of the priest and the best girl, of course. I might adjust that. I'm not sure. We'll see. I pity whatever underpaid seamstress or tailor had to go to the trouble of making Cyril's outfit because I hate drawing it. I gotta follow my cringe blue sky. I really hate that I've had to hippity hoppity through so many social medias, but here we are. On to the next one. I like blue sky, but I don't know. I have to hang out where people are, and a lot of people haven't moved over to blue sky. I still really like Instagram overall. It's just that with the tag changes, it's like why bother? I can't follow any of the tags that I like. I can't like what should I even add tags to my posts anymore? Apparently not. It is truly a society that we live in. The algorithm is already out. Yeah, it really is. I used to have an Instagram for gaming stuff kind of back in the day, and I remember whenever they ins instigated, that's not the right word, implemented, that's the word that I was looking for. Whenever they implemented some sort of algorithm change, it totally murdered that account. It was really, really weird. They just continued to murder everything. It used to be so much better. Yeah, it did. Lily, welcome in. How are you today? We were bemoaning the state of social medias and having to jump from one to the other constantly. I still miss the Tumblr days. I really, one of my big gripes with both Instagram and Tumblr, sorry, not Tumblr, Twitter, which kind of carries over to Blue Sky, is on Tumblr, I used to be able to do these really, really fun posts of kind of, I guess, photo sets is probably what we'd call them. But I used to be able to do these really fun graphics where I used a combination of images and GIFs to kind of put a whole piece together. And that was a lot of fun. I got to do some really fun photo stories doing that, and I really miss doing that. That's kind of where I did most of my original Cyril stuff. So I'm definitely biased because it's one of the things that I used to do to kind of connect with Cyril as a character so much, but still, even now, I really miss doing that. Hopefully, I'll be able to do a little bit more of it on newer social medias, and at least with YouTube, I can try to do maybe some shorts, some short animat. Would they still be animatics? Yeah, I guess they would still be animatics. Some YouTube shorts, TM. I guess that means, I think I'm gonna make these thicker. I think this needs to be bigger and more. Oh, like the mood board stuff with GIFs and pictures. Yeah, similar to that. I used to do a lot of those. I used to do also a lot of GIF sets for different video games that I played. And I really enjoyed making those GIFs and putting those sets together. Finding little poems or songs. I had a lot of fun doing that when I was younger. And that's a kind of specific, it's a very specific kind of form, for lack of a better phrase, form of media that I can't really replicate anywhere else. Like I can post a picture to Instagram or Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever, but it's not the same as being able to do like a nice layout with lots of different kind of interacting parts the way that I could back on Tumblr. So I don't know. I miss the Tumblr days. I also miss the option of having a blog that you could customize. Like you could create your own Tumblr theme, and I spent hours and hours, back in the day putting together my Tumblr theme, getting a color palette all set. I had a lot of fun doing that as well. And now it's like, nope, you get the you get the generic social media profile. That's what you get. Oh well, times change, I suppose. I'll revisit that. See how I feel about it in a bit. So my love looks nice. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I am very fond of his uniform. I like his cassock design too. I do like his priest outfit quite a lot, but his uniform is very special to me. Very much a classic. I think I am going to go ahead and get rid of them. Let's see if I can find them. Don't look at my shame as I have to toggle off each of my layers to figure out where I put different pieces. Okay. On this one, oh man, both of these are everything on like the bottom portion. It's probably done. Oh, that's okay. I love making everything difficult for myself. Yeah, alright, that's gonna be over top. I might move this, but we'll see. It's coming along nicely. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you think so. It's been such a long time since I've drawn him. First of all, in his uniform, as we've established, but also with his hair down. Look at him. His hair down like a whore.
The priest has to keep his hair tied back.
I think I am going to move this one down here. He always looks intimidating to me. Same. Good, very good. This is his intention, and I'm glad that I capture it. I'm sure he would be very happy to hear that. He doesn't scare me. It's a shot. He would just provide a friendly reminder. Let's see. So I did a seam on the inside. He does have the seam over the shoulders though as well. Warning shot then. Cyril can give warning shots or he can give warning snaps, which is going to sting a lot because it's going to be a snap from his whip. Just a cheeky little snap. He'd catch that. He'd ask you to repeat it. Oh gosh, I guess this needs to be below. Okay, so where did I put my sash? There we go. Don't threaten me with a good time. Oh, gosh, I'm shaming you. You need to go sit in the corner and think about what you've done. Do not pass go. Go directly to jail. Do not collect $200. Can I be lazy? Let me see. Hold on. I might be able to be lazy. Aye, Captain. Oh my goodness. Wrist is starting to hurt. That's probably a sign that I need to stop soon. I stretched and everything before I started drawing today, and yet it's still hurting. Oh wow, I was missing them. I always forget what they're called. I think they're called Nope, that's the thing on the end of your shoelace. I forget what they're called, but he's got these little, for lack of a better term, I know that there is a military term for them, but I forget what it is. But for lack of a better term, I will just call them, and I'm labeling my layers. For once in my life, I'm labeling a layer. I'm just gonna call it braids for lack of a better word, because I completely forgot to do them. Wow, you can't see that. Completely forgot to do them in this version as well. But he's got, first of all, he's got buttons up here that I didn't add yet. But on the back side of those buttons, I'm just gonna do it white so I can see where they go. He's got these little braided rope bits. For lack of a better term, I know that there is a proper military name for them, and I cannot remember what it is for the life of me. Because of recent projects, all of the military and pirate lore that I so painstakingly gathered in my brain, it's all been replaced with like priest lore and vampire lore because of the Hellfire and Immolation. But I promise that there are actual terms for these things, and I just don't know what they are. He's got one that's slightly longer. They connect like back to the back side of this, behind his shoulder, and then they hang down. They have little tassels at the end. I can't believe I forgot them in that sketch too. I forgot the button. I forgot the button. He's supposed to have a button. Well, multiple buttons. Well, okay. Some other parts here of his uniform that are missing. Even from this sketch, which is older. So he's got buttons on the lapels, I guess, if they would be the lapels of his uniform. So he's got buttons, like a single button on each of those, and he's got like the little Brady boys, for lack of a better term. And then he's also got up here on his dress shirt, he's got a little pin. It's not really a tie pin. I mean, it is a tie pin. It's there to hold his tie in place. But there's like a little pin that goes through, and then there's a chain on the back of it that goes underneath his tie. And I think that's everything missing. Obviously, this should have more detail to it up here. This is just a really rough sketch. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. That's mostly correct. That's also mirrored. Now that I'm looking at it, his belts are going the wrong way, so this should be flipped, this whole thing. Because, oh wait, no. Guys, I did it wrong. Oh no. Oh, I'm realizing I did it wrong. His sash is correct. Here, let me show you all the ways that I've completely failed to draw my own character. So up here, his sash is going the correct way. It goes from his right shoulder to his left hip. But his belt, the center belt obviously is correct because it goes across his waist, his natural waist. So that's fine, that's correct. But his other belt is going the wrong direction because this is his sword. So this, like I mentioned earlier, this first belt, that's part of the uniform. That's just to hold it in place. But this belt is for his sword, so his sword is going to come off of here. And he's right-handed, technically, forbidden Cyril lore is he's not actually right-handed. But if you ask him, he will tell you he's right-handed. Because he's quote unquote right-handed, he needs to be able to draw his sword from the side. So his sword belt is backwards there, and his keyring, which is that little extra bit, like this little itty bitty one right here, that's like a chain and leather kind of braid, for lack of a better word, with like gold on it, and that hangs the opposite direction, and that has his keyring with all of his various keys on it, and that hangs down. They always crisscross each other, so that way the keys don't get tangled up with the sword and prevent him from drawing it. If like I don't know, if he's rolling and tumbling because he's in danger, his keys aren't going to get fumbled up with his sword. So I did that backwards. Wow, what was I thinking when I drew that? Uh, it's fine. Everything's fine. I'll fix it. I'll fix it on this one. Now that it looks like I've mapped all of this out like a conspiracy theory, I will fix it. Do the gold things sparkle? Yes, the way that anything gold would. So they don't necessarily have sparkle to them, but they are metallic, so they will reflect light. So it's not like they're glittery, but they're metallic, so they do shine. I do need to fix that belt because I like the belt buckle design that I did there a lot better. Ah, silly me. What was I thinking? I have so much to fix, but that's okay. The main thing is that I'm happy with his face. That's what matters. He looks very smug. My phone here that I'm using to watch the chat. To check my message real quick. Let's see. It's almost 2 o'clock. Let's see. I'll probably go till 2, maybe? I don't know. It's 10 to 2. I don't know. We'll see. I'll aim for 2, but we'll see. Because I am getting hungry and I do need to go make some lunch. And to get back to writing. Because I have lots to write. As it is the final day of my weekend, and I still have no clue what I'm doing with that other arm of his. So we'll see. I have lots to correct and lots to write. If you are interested in writing endeavors, I will be opening ARC applications sometime soon, probably next month or maybe February at the latest. And it's not for access to a specific book, but it is basically to be added to the mailing list so that when my advanced copies are available, you can choose to be notified. That's what those are for. Because I will have... I don't think Immolation is going to be next year. It's probably going to be year after. But I do have that secret project coming out sometime next year. And that is something that is not the priest. It's not pirate either. It's a different... It's still Cyril. Because he's the special spoiled child in my character roster. And he's just a lot of fun to write. So it's still Cyril. But it's not the priest and it's not the pirate. It's more pirate adjacent though, so it's going to be... I don't know if less serious would be quite the right word, but it's going to be a little bit more playful, a little bit more fun. Again, a little less serious. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but a little less serious than Immolation. Not quite as heavy, not quite as in depth, I guess, if that's the right word. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a nice little change of pace for me writing. It's going to be a really good exercise. So if you're interested in that, just keep an eye out for it. These lines are too large. That's okay. I don't know if you can hear it because I don't know if my mic picks it up, but there is a child screaming somewhere in my neighborhood, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. admire all of these cohesive detail lines. I can't say no. Thank you. I enjoy doing little details in line work like this. It takes a really long time, but I don't know. I enjoy it. It's kind of the reason, the thing that gave me the idea of doing the stream is because I knew that I'd probably just kind of sit and hang out and work on these little lining details. Obviously, I wasn't quite as productive as I planned, but that's okay. That's usually what happens with streams. It's all about the good fun. Hi, Bilbo. Welcome in. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. It's relaxing to watch. Well, good. I'm glad. I am probably going to wrap it up. It is 2 o'clock. My wrist is kind of starting to hurt. And I need to make some lunch because I haven't had anything yet. I've just had coffee today, and it's already 2 o'clock, so I should probably go do the responsible thing and eat something. But I don't know. I will correct some of the mistakes that I made on this and possibly come back to it. Maybe I'll stream a little bit more of it as I kind of wrap it up and start doing some details on it. It is just going to be a sketch. It's not planning. I'm not planning on making this like seriously lined or anything like that. But I don't know. We'll see. I think it would be fun to stream more often, and I have plans to potentially finish this on stream some other time, and then to work on that piece of Bronte and Cyril over here on YouTube, as I think people might have fun watching that one as well. So thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys had fun and it was relaxing, and you get to see my shame as I forget how to draw my own character and also forget that he has arms. But I hope you guys had fun. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. And I am not sure what day I will be streaming again. It's probably going to be a weekend day, so either a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be next week or week after, but I will try to post at least one day in advance to kind of give you guys a heads up, excuse me. And beyond that, hopefully we'll see you for the next one. Thanks so much for hanging out, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm going to put some little hearts in the chat for you there. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend.